Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for war number 7 of season 41. We are going up against DD13 registered trademark or something like that, and they are doing pretty well this season, so we didn't want to underestimate this group even though we didn't know them that well. The bans include Hercules and then also Torch and Scorpion. So because Scorpion and Torch are banned, we're going to use two other science champions who are quite good. Overseer is a very proven science champ for war, but this is going to be the first time that I've been assigned Spot in war, and the two fights that he's taking are somewhat theoretical as we haven't seen footage of them working before, but I am pretty comfortable with Spot from Battlegrounds, and in talking to the planners, we felt pretty good going into it, and they did go pretty well. So anyway, the first fight is also going to be the first time that I brought Absorbing Man this season against arguably his best matchup, which is Terrax. The reason Terrax is so good of a matchup for him is that he, first of all, can go into magma form right away, which gives him a lot of energy resistance so that the rock field won't be that bad. And then, of course, he's immune to armor break, and the armor breaks that come while you're in rock field are just going to ramp him, give you free pauses, and give you lots of morph charges, so then you can medium, light, medium to both refine and get physical vulnerabilities. And the other thing this season that makes him even better of a matchup for Absorbing Man is honestly the tactic, the planetary endurance. Normally that becomes a bit of a nightmare, but you'll see when we start this fight that in this case we actually are going to take blocked hits to help him build up a little bit of flourish right off the bat. And what that does is it increases his power rate so much that he's never going to leave the rock field form, which just continually ramps us, just doing medium, light, mediums, and one special 2 in magma form, and he goes down. So the regen on that node and any other problems that node would cause didn't even come up because it was over in 17 seconds. Next up is the masochism over time node, where we're going to be facing Man-Thing. And Overseer versus Man-Thing is definitely one of the greatest possible matchups for him. He's poison immune, he's immune to nullify. Man-Thing is going to be trying to do both of those things to you all fights, so you will get some free gamma and just go to town. And then if it wasn't this season, I would potentially have to worry a little bit about my special concussions and any parries or disorients or anything that I tried to land, ending up giving him some masochism over time. But because we have the subdue tactic and we have neutralize, we're essentially going to be able to keep the buffs off of him for the entire fight. Now, the neutralize will also potentially keep buffs off of us, I think. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but either way, you can see between the retaliation damage that we were getting off of things like, baiting his heavy, punishing his special, things like that. There I didn't punish his special, I just didn't feel safe and didn't want to get parried myself. We easily got to 6 gamma, and the 6 gamma puts us in cosmic mode when we throw a special 2, and because of the neutralize, he never gained any regens the entire time, and we end with 100% health. So very, very easy fight for Overseer, and we love to see that. Now, next up, we're going to be going up against a rank 5 Kingpin on node 25. This is the Power Snack node, and we're going to prove that Overseer is so good against Power Snack that it doesn't matter that we're going up against a rank 5 skill champion. Because essentially, the thing that would make him kind of dangerous here is, if you went in with like Dr. Doom or something, you would be feeding a lot of power every time your buffs got nullified. And then, when Kingpin gets to a special 2, it's usually a bad time. And then also you would be getting all these power stings on you, which aren't fun to have to deal with when you use someone like Dr. Doom. So I can see and respect this placement. There are no buff immune mutants to go against him if you wanted to bring like a hard counter to Kingpin. So this is a case where we're just going to be combating this node. We are immune to nullify, which means Power Snack is no big deal. The retaliation damage, even against this rank 5, starts to add up even when you bait his heavies and when you punish his specials. As you can see there, he's a SIG 200 Overseer, so it is doing a decent amount of damage. We're just basically going to be healing off of these power stings, and we should be able to get to 6 gamma fairly soon because of Power Snack Basically, the immunity to nullify is what's ramping us up so fast so that we can get to 6 gamma. Just got to watch his power, make sure you don't shoot him up to a special 2. And just like the last fight, we use a special 2 without the power sting in order to enter cosmic mode. And I'm figuring maybe we can kill him during cosmic mode, and even if we don't, he will be so low that it won't really matter. So we just got to bait here, and we're ending in light combos so that it does the maximum damage. My cosmic mode is sort of coming to an end. I should be able to get at least one more big combo with all that retaliation damage. And he's going to throw that, and we're out of cosmic mode, but that combo was enough to get him down because we did still have a Fury, which came from the cosmic mode as well. So yeah, really cool to see that. Rank 5 Kingpin, about 230 health, which is a lot for a path fight like that. Not on one of the main mini bosses, and he went down just like that. Alright, so now we move on to Path 5, and the next 3 fights are going to be the Ebb and Flow Intercept fights. We're taking the first one with Overseer, and then the next one were those experimental fights with Spot that I was talking about. This one is pretty good, but I do want you to take note that because there's nothing that's specifically ramping us in this fight, it is actually going to be a lot longer than even that Kingpin fight. And it just goes to show that Overseer is a very solid champion. Like, he can take a lot of fights. It's just he's not going to be the fastest champ out there when there's nothing that specifically is ramping him up. So the one thing that helps a little bit is that things like Mystic Dispersion and additional power gain from Planetary Endurance and stuff like that is going to give him more bars of power faster. So that's sort of why we were able to get all the way up to Gamma this quickly. And essentially the only reason it's going to be going a little bit slower is because we need to land these intercepts to get the protection off. Now, I threw a light into the air and he started light comboing and we actually got smacked there, but fortunately we had the auto block on, which is just another reason Overseer is so good. He has that built-in safety net just like Medusa has, where you will just parry them automatically. And we are using this special concussions after he throws a special to basically remove the gem of Sidorak right away. And by that, what I mean is we are putting a debuff on him, which is what gives him that weakness and removes the gem. So that means he's not going to go unstoppable. But we do have neutralize to help control the unstoppables and things like that as well, and the flourish buffs. But this fight was just kind of an example of, like, I wasn't able to get really good AI to feel safe intercepting. So there we did get an intercept, and now we throw the special 3, which is pretty much going to do him in. But, you know, it just goes to show if you're doing Path 5 and you're not able to intercept, you will slowly chip them down. The protection is not so ridiculously high that it's going to prevent you from getting them down in 5 minutes if you have a matchup like Overseer versus Juggernaut. But we didn't panic. We used that one auto block, and then we were good. Now, I'm going to pause this one for a moment and just tell you a little bit about this fight against Absorbing Man. Now, again, I've taken this fight with Torch. So when I've taken it with Torch, it's pretty easy because you do need to land some intercepts to get through the protection, but ultimately it's Torch versus a Mystic. We're immune to Incinerate, so even if something crazy happens, like he refined his magma form, we would be absolutely fine. Now, the deal with Spot is a few things. When I went into this fight, the primary thing on my mind was making sure that I kept on top of fighting Carl and making sure that I was making sure he didn't refine any forms, because basically we need to take a lot of block damage to play Spot properly using the portal block. And if he was refined, he's going to be doing all that red damage through the block, which is obviously going to be a very bad time. And then additionally, when he's in Uru form, he has physical resistance, which means almost all of our red damage isn't going to get through. So when I went into this fight, before I even worried about playing Spot, before I worried about any of the other ways to do damage and get rid of Ebb and Flow Intercept, the most important thing was be on top of Carl and his forms. Make sure that we practice those heavy counters to deactivate his form the best we can. Now, the next biggest thing is that if I'm going to unleash a big special 2, there are of course ways to maximize this. I would highly recommend checking out like Karate Mike's channel and stuff. A lot of people have done videos on how to maximize the damage, but essentially to maximize the damage of the special 2, you need to bait a heavy sort of right before going into untouchable. Then you get a fury and you're going to do a ton of damage. You can also activate that line in the SIG that says the next hit after portal block ends. That anything except for a medium is going to do a little burst of damage. So you can do something like medium into special 2, and then every hit of the special 2 has a little extra bonus damage. That's all fine and good, but I had to remember that ebb and flow intercept was also on. So landing an intercept before throwing a special 2 was arguably as important, if not more important, than doing all those fancy spot things. So essentially going into the fight, I was going to try to build up to portal block, maybe do one round of untouchable, and then hope for the best that when I got to special 2, I could land an intercept, try to get the fury at the same time, and do as much damage as possible with one special 2 and potentially kill him. That was the plan, but I was ready for things to go wrong, and believe me, they did. So anyway, with that, let's get this fight started right about now. Alright, so here we go. We start with just landing a cheeky intercept there. Now we're doing portal block, making sure that we're keeping track of his heavies. He's throwing a lot of them. We want to take as many hits into block when we have portal block up as possible. And then once we get to 5, we're going to try to get started with our untouchable. I let him run into me so that we get the free intercept. One of the reasons that he's so good here is kind of like Ghost, you do get the free intercepts. This fight's going perfectly. He throws that, we get the heavy punish. Now I'm ready to do a finishing move. I'm ready to just do one more portal block and get this special 2 off. And somehow we don't get the intercept. He throws it. I think I'm still untouchable, and we get hit. So that was not how that went. I think in retrospect, what I should have done is not worried about getting the fury. I should have just stepped back, let him run into me, get the intercept, and throw the special 2 without a fury, but with the ebb and flow on cooldown. But anyway, the special 3 is still good because we go untouchable, and we can just kind of keep track of this fight, and we're in his corner, so everything's fine. Everything's fine. The regen definitely makes a difference here. This guy definitely regens a lot, and we don't have any way to stop it except for our debuffs, but of course Mighty Charge makes it a little tricky to do that. So here we go. Let's try again. This time we get a nice heavy bait, which gives us the fury, and then we get a nice intercept just like we practiced. There we deactivate the form, so everything's fine. Note, with Mighty Charge, our ruptures aren't sticking, but most of the damage of spot doesn't happen from the ruptures themselves. It happens from timing out of getting all your ruptures so that your special 2 does more damage. So even though they're disappearing, it's not the end of the world. And once again, we are ready for our finishing move. Here we go. But he threw his block down so ridiculously fast after we got the untouchable that he ended up blocking the entire special 2, which means, again, we have to start all over. We lost all of our permanent rupture timer thingies. There were like 44 of them. So that was a huge drag. And now the match time is halfway over, so obviously we should be able to get him down as long as I'm just keeping on top of everything here. We practiced baiting heavies in the corner. There we go untouchable. We don't have the protection down, but the fury and the special 2 is enough to get him down. So like I said, just about everything went wrong. I think there is possibly something bugged with Carl and some other champs where they're able to throw down the block faster than you are able to react to it, because when I looked back at that clip, I phased and I went right into the special 2 after a hit, and he somehow had time to throw down his block. Otherwise, he would have died a lot earlier. So yeah, I was a little frazzled, but I gotta say, because of my point number 1, which was staying on top of all the Carl related things in that fight, I never felt like I was in danger. Now this Doom fight is going to go a lot smoother. I think I only make one little mistake. Doom has a lot of block penetration, so the first hit before we gain any spots is going to hurt a little bit, but because of sort of the passive play that we have here, it's really not that bad. We're going to get a crumbling armor break on us, and that's going to help us heal a little bit. So you saw I did an intercept there, and then our first round of untouchable, we took off a solid amount of damage. He threw a special one while we were blocking, which was very rude, but that's why we run indestructible boosts, so everything was fine. That didn't fluster me that much. We waited for the aura to get out, and now hopefully we can line up a nice finishing move. So here we go. We intercept. That was a very safe intercept because we were untouchable. So even if he did throw a special, it would have been fine. And then boom, 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 he goes down just like that. We had the Fury from Ebb and Flow. We had the Fury from baiting his heavy. We got the intercept. It was, like I said, a very safe intercept because we were untouchable, so nothing could hit us at that moment. And boom, that's what I wanted the Absorbing Man fight to look like. But of course, things went a little wrong, but we were able to adjust. So we ended up winning this war. We were a little bit sloppier on our end, but getting to use Spot like that was definitely a highlight of the season for me so far. I hope that we can send him again in the future because I really do think this proved a few things. That first of all, he is a very solid attacker. He does take chip damage, so you may have to heal him up. You basically need to play him a little bit different than Battlegrounds. Like, you don't just kind of YOLO to get the fastest time possible. As you saw with the Absorbing Man fight, I didn't play him ideally because I was reacting to what was happening in the match. And then the second thing is, I think this is a good point about fighting Absorbing Man. He definitely has gotten the rap of being like a lethal defender, but really, if you stay on top of his forms and deactivating them, which basically means don't let him throw the same special back to back without being able to heavy punish it, that's how he refines his forms. As long as you're not doing that, he really isn't that much of a threat. He doesn't have as much insane power gain as some other mystics do. He doesn't have anything like, you know, Incinerate Aura like Mephisto does. He doesn't have Mangog, like unblockable special 2s and stuff like that. And essentially, you just got to stay on top of those heavy counters as best you can and just be aware of like where he is on his forms if they're about to get refined. And then if they do get refined, just get the heck out of the way because you don't want to be taking any blocked hits. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a blast. There will be more wars coming. There are 5 more in the season, and we'll let you know how it all goes. But for now, SSx is 4-3. We're doing quite well, and looking forward to hopefully having a nice solid finish to the 3rd week as we head into the end of the season. So thanks for checking out my video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.